Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Moms Talk Sex podcast with me, Mor Yelvington, your host. I am so excited for this sexy, juicy conversation we're going to have today with the beautiful Melanie. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here and bringing your expertise and energy. So let's dive in. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the world?
Yes, well, my name is Melanie Bonk, and I am literally here to help you bonk better. It is in my name. So I am a somatic sexuality and relationship coach. And what that means is I guide individuals and couples into their body. So we're getting out of the mind, into the body, listening to the wisdom, listening to the wounds, listening to the triggers, and then opening up the medicine and the magic that is alive inside of our bodies. And I do that on so many different levels, but a lot of it is to heal trauma that happens from really the moment we're born, and to really unpack conditioning, unpack the imprints made on our sexuality from our family of origin, from religion, from society as a whole. Like it's just this big umbrella that gets bigger and bigger. And all of these messages come into our bodies and live in our nervous system. So it's a really beautiful, gentle process that ends up really empowering people, knowing that they've got the resources inside their body to thrive in every state.
I love that so much, and you put that in such a beautiful way. So, how did you get to become Melanie Bonk? Like, how did you get to become this amazing, you know, healer?
Well, it really started very young for me. So, like my birth, for instance, I was born on Valentine's Day
Oh,
in the year of the golden cock. So, like, kind of this magical sexual energy has been inside of me for my whole entire life. But I grew up with parents who divorced, and it was a pretty nasty divorce. I was always split between the two. And so, as a young girl, I was really conscious of the things I didn't want to experience as an adult. So when I came together with my beloved 26 years ago, we really started to dive into what it takes to have a successful, thriving partnership that can last the stages of life. And for us, that involved really healing those inner child wounds. And as we grew together, as we exposed those wounds, I kind of end up becoming the go-to person for family and friends for love, sex, and relationship advice. And then in 2019, I actually was following Layla Martin, who is a queen tantrika and just like overall goddess. And I saw that she had a program for love, sex, and relationship coaching. And I looked at my husband and I go, oh, this is something I should really do like when the kids are gone. And he goes, no, my love, this is something you should do now. And he just like really pushed me, gave me a little bit of confidence actually to sign up for the course. So that was in 2019. I've been coaching since then, and I'm also since then added on somatic trauma therapist certification. So that's really going in deeper with that trauma because we carry so much. So it kind of like organically happened throughout my whole entire life, and now I'm like adding on these layers of tools and education to really befriend trauma and bring it into our bodies with loving presence.
I love that so much. So, what would you say the number one thing is that people come to you with?
They aren't having sex and they want to have sex. It's absolutely a epidemic right now of sexless marriages and partnerships.
Why do you think that is?
I think we get the messaging that there's so many other things that are more important. Um, we spend so much time with raising our kids. I've got 4 kids, and I know what it's like to go from practice to quick dinner to late practice to this to that. And it really is an act of radical love to claim time for first ourselves as mothers. Phew. Once I started actually meeting myself, creating time for myself to dip into my body, dip into my desires, dip into my pleasure, I realized that I showed up so much more joyful as a parent, joyful as a partner. And then when we carve out time with our partners, like I actually set up dates once a week where we can dip into connection. And connection is so, so vital thriving sexual relationships. For me, it starts at heart connection, and then everything travels down from heart connection. So claiming it and making pleasure a priority, I think is really just a radical fuck yes move.
Yes. I love that so much that you're saying that because I agree. I feel like sex is one of the first thing that just goes out the door and people don't they think like I used it to have my kids and now I don't need it anymore and it's something that's just another chore, another something I need to do
Mhm.
and they don't realize the magic that occurs when you actually encompass that in your life and bring that to play, right? So when people come to you, would you say it's mainly couples or mainly like women or men? Like who is normally initiating?
It's definitely the female that I've, in my experience, that is initiating, working together. I have a couple people who have come together, come to me as a couple, and then we realize that one person in the group has some trauma that we need some one-on-one time. So it really just depends on who's coming and what's available, what they're feeling for. This work is so vulnerable and intimate where you have to kind of go slow and build up that safety. So feeling safe even in your own partnership. And that's why having someone like you or I in that space to mediate, to help create safety. And then you can dip into those vulnerable realms where you can really be witnessed in who you are.
So do you feel a lot of the reasoning behind stopping the sex is the trauma?
From my experience, yes. From the clients that come and see me, yes, absolutely. And trauma is such a heavy word, and
Yeah,
trauma could really just be I have messaging that my body is not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I mean,
right.
it's there's so many levels of trauma that are in our bodies, and so it's a really beautiful, delicate process to, again, like I said, befriend the trauma, get to know it.
Do you mind sharing maybe like a success story of a couple that came just so people kind of see like what the outcome is of something like this?
Yeah, I've got a beautiful client who they came to me. I've got a 3 session package where it's called the Quickie. And so the Quickie is more of like, I'm going to guide you in a sacred yoni massage. So in this kind of opening of your vulva, of your pussy, that like, I know that the first time I got guided in that session, it was like a complete revolutionary experience in my body because our yonis are so magical. So, anyways, I came for the Quickie, the 3 date nights, and it was quickly evident that one of the partners couldn't really surrender, couldn't receive. She didn't feel comfortable. So I have been working with her for about a year, actually, with some really, really deep trauma. And now their sex life and their pleasure life is thriving. She self pleasures on a regular basis. They just actually came to this beautiful retreat that virtual retreat that I just hosted with some other sex coaches. And it's just like watching the flower bloom all the way. And the seasons of life and the seasons of nature are in us. So it's really honoring every single step. It's beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
What would you say, when do you think couples should come to something like this? Right? When is like that aha moment of like, oh, I might need help with this? Like what is the timing for something like this? What do you think?
I think it's every time. So even if your partnership is good and you're having good sex, trust me, my friends, you can always make it bigger, better, full body, head to toe, like coming out of your fingers. But if sex is a chore, if sex is like the last thing you want to do, if you kind of like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then you're in your mind the entire time, you're thinking about what you want to be doing next. You're thinking about maybe what's for dinner or the laundry that's in the washing machine. And you're not actually embodied. You're not enjoying the act of pleasure with your whole body. That's a perfect opportunity to say, you know what? I want more. And that's just it. It's just like this little inkling of like, are you curious? Do you want more? Because more is available.
I love that. So maybe you can share some tips to spice up the bedroom for those of us that are having the mundane regular positions. We've been together for 12 years. We know exactly
Mhm.
our bodies. We know what we like. I know how to make you come in a good way. What can they add to the bedroom?
I'd love to add when we for me, and what makes my sex life thriving after almost 3 decades with my partner is the act of adding spirituality into it. So sacred sex is like opening up your body to God energy, to goddess energy, to God X energy. It's making devotional practices. So like pleasure practices. The other day, I was exactly that person. I was kind of like, I was making out with my husband, my clothes were on, and it was like we had 90 minutes before the kids got home from school. And my mind was in the office. I was thinking about emails and projects and this. And I had to have an actual conversation with myself while I was still making out with my husband and be like, okay, what do you want to experience right now? Do you want to actually just say, you know, babe, I want to go back in my office and work on this? Or do I want to be experiencing pleasure? And I'm like, well, obviously, I want to experience pleasure. So at that moment, I flipped a switch and I turned like into my body, into what I was actually experiencing. I noticed what I was feeling and where I was feeling it. So creating that left right brain symmetry of what am I actually experiencing? I'm experiencing his hand on my thigh. I'm experiencing heat rising at my back. And it's actually labeling what you're experiencing in that moment helps you create more safety in the brain. And like I said, it makes that left right brain symmetry. But that moment, I also called in like the energy of Venus to come in and like fuel desire in my body. And then that like opened up my pelvis to this pleasure that began to roll through my body. And the experience became so significant, so spiritual, so intense. But I had to have that like little moment with myself to say, what do I want to be doing right now? And I had to choose pleasure. I had to actively turn off everything else in my world and dive into pleasure. And so it's kind of learning those tools, learning that mindfulness. Another tool that you can use is the power of your breath. So I call it, for me, I call it pussy breathing, where I'm breathing in and out of my pussy. But it's for every human. So if we follow and track our breath, and I like to imagine the breath as like light. So we're breathing that light in, sending it down the spine and all the way into that pelvic bowl. It really actually creates so much more sensation, so much more blood flow, so much more turn on. So you can use the power of your breath as well to connect deeper in moments of pleasure.
Oh, I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for adding that. I think it's great. So, if our listeners want to find you, want to find more about you, want to connect with you, how can they do that?
They can visit my website, which is my name. So it's melaniebonk.com. They can follow me on the Instagram. I am at Bonk Better, and I am shadow banned, as you could imagine, for saying words like pussy orgasm.
Yes,
So
it's hard to find.
yeah, so a follow would be lovely on the good old Instagram. And then I also have a Facebook group called the Bonkalicious Booty Club, and it is a private Facebook group for female bodied only. And I drop in with practices, meditations, fun little relationship um, questions and advice. So it's just kind of a fun open space where we celebrate being women and celebrating each other, rising each other up. And it's just full of yummy energy.
Oh, I love that. I can
Yeah.
feel that. You guys, can you feel the energy from Melanie? Like, I just love her energy.
Yeah.
Yes, I love your energy. It's so powerful. I hope you guys can really tune into it and take all the little gems she shared. If you just incorporate these little things, it will make such a world of difference for you and your body and your relationship. You know, these conversations, they're really an open door for you to try these things, to really embody them and to shift things for you if it's not feeling good. And if you feel like you need guidance, definitely reach out to Melanie or to me. Leave something in the comments. We will reach back to you if you have any questions. Melanie, thank you so much for this conversation. It was so great.
Yeah. So juicy. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a beautiful day full of sex and intimacy, and I'll catch in with you again next week. Bye.